Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be taking a very quick look at the 2020 governor races across the country. We don't have a ton of polling data or forecast data available in general for any of these races, save for a select few such as North Carolina and Montana. However, overall we don't have a lot of polling data, and thus it is very hard to accurately predict and actually have a lot of insight into these governor elections themselves. However, I am going to be doing my best, starting out by labeling all of the safe Republican states in Utah, in Indiana, as well as the state of North Dakota. These are the three states that I can comfortably label as safe for the Republican Party. As for the Democrats, the only two states you can actually really label as safe for the Democrats is the state of Washington and the state of Delaware, which brings us to 22 seats for the Democrats and 22 for the Republicans. Now keep in mind that a majority is 26, and one other thing to keep in mind is how important governorships are given their importance in redistricting and a lot of things having to do with the 2020 census going on right now. Now, as for the states that I can label as likely for the Republicans, there's quite a few. I can label the state of Missouri as likely in favor of the Republicans, as well as the state of Montana, New Hampshire, and the state of Vermont. In the state of Missouri, we have incumbent Republican Mike Parson, who's not really at risk of losing his seat in this election, and neither is Jim Justice in the state of West Virginia, who was formerly actually a Democrat but changed to the Republican Party before this election. Both of these two candidates are not likely to lose their re-election bids in either of these states. However, in New Hampshire and Vermont, these are the only two states that I could label as likely for the Republicans, where the Democrats actually have somewhat of a chance. In New Hampshire, we have Chris Sununu, the Republican incumbent. Now, keep in mind that in Vermont and in New Hampshire, they elect their governors every 2 years. So, no governor race is necessarily all that safe in either of these states, and typically, both of these states are Democratic states in presidential election years. Now, how much of an effect will that have on the governorship races? Not that much, but it is enough to notice that in the states like Vermont and in New Hampshire, which typically go to the Democratic Party, Vermont more so than New Hampshire, that is, but Chris Sununu and Phil Scott, who is the governor in Vermont, should be a little bit cautious, but are likely to win their races. Now, moving on to the two states that are actually competitive and ones to watch in this election cycle, the states of Montana and the state of North Carolina. In North Carolina, Democratic incumbent Roy Cooper is pretty popular as things stand right now, and I do expect him to be able to win re-election, and that is why I'm labeling the state of North Carolina as lean in favor of the Democratic Party. Now, all things considered, with Joe Biden seeing a big boost in his polling numbers in the state of North Carolina, we could see an increased turnout from the Democratic Party in this 2020 election cycle, especially with the unpopularity of President Donald Trump right now. That could change, but that could play a big role in the governor race between Roy Cooper and his challenger, the Republican Dan Forest. Dan Forest was the former lieutenant governor and could be a formidable opponent for Roy Cooper. However, if his approvals continue to be where they are at right now, I don't think he'll struggle to win re-election as much as many people may think. Now, the state of Montana is basically an effective toss-up. The state of Montana just recently had their primaries done on June 2nd, I believe, where Mike Cooney, the former Democratic lieutenant governor for Steve Bullock, who is now running for the Senate in the state of Montana, won the Democratic primary, while the Republican Greg Gianforte won the Republican primary. So those two candidates will be going at it in that Montana governor race, and basically every single forecast, I'm talking from Politico, Sabato's Crystal Ball, Cook Political, all of these forecasting and political prediction sites all have this race rated as a toss-up between Greg Gianforte and Mike Cooney. I am going to label this state as, I wish I could keep it as an effective toss-up, but I'm actually going to label it as a tilt in favor of the Republican Party as things stand right now, just because I do believe that in those primary numbers, I saw Greg Gianforte have a much more convincing victory in that Republican primary and win a lot more votes, even in a three-way race, that I saw from Cooney and his opponent in the Democratic primary. And that is why I'm going to label it as a tilt in favor of the Republican Party, which brings it to a 27-23 split between the Republicans and the Democrats in the governor races across the country. Now, as I said previously, I don't have a ton of polling data right now to base any of these predictions on. So this is really just a rough estimate as things stand right now. But I hope you all enjoyed. Please make sure to like and subscribe and tune in next time.